Minute 2 to go in this one. Tigers 48, Norfolk Panthers 40. So it looks like the Tigers might avenge one of their 2 losses this year and move on to face Creighton Prep in the semifinals tomorrow. We talk about avenging losses. How about avenging like 2 losses? How about playing a team like 100 times in a year? That's at least what it feels like with O'Neill and Pierce. These 2 teams got to feel like roommates. They met today for the 4th time this season. Pierce had beaten them twice in the regular season, once in a regular season matchup, the second time in the Mid-State Conference Championship. Then the district final, the O'Neill Eagles on the ropes. They probably weren't going to get those wild card points if they lose that game. They needed that game, and they ended up getting it. They beat Pierce, and today even goes beyond the rubber match. The 4th time these 2 teams play each other, it's the 4-5 matchup in Class C1, and Pierce and O'Neill doing it again today.
Battle of the Birds. It was a good one. Blue Jays and Eagles going at it. Let's just check out the highlights again. This is the opposite side of the bracket of the Shamrocks and Adams Central as these 2 rivals went down. So O'Neill starting off strong first. We're going to defense to start things off. How about that? Tyson Hossert with the big block on Taggart Bailey as O'Neill is up 9-4 after the first quarter of play. And now Walker Lear with the putback. He had 8 points, and that put the Eagles up 11-4 early on. Pierce could not buy a bucket in that first half. That guy could, though. That's Justin Appleby from downtown. 14-4, Eagles on top. Now, this is one of the bright spots in the first half. Taggart Bailey, no surprise here, knocking the J down, cutting the lead in half, 14-7. But answering right back the next time down the court, Alex Tramer, 2 points as he led the Eagles with 11 points. O'Neill up 20-7 at the halftime break. Now Pierce trying to cut the deficit. There's Bailey again. O'Neill still up 13 after that jumper, 30-17. O'Neill heading into the 4th. Pierce fans trying to get their teams to rally, trying to inspire something, and Bailey's doing his best, putting his team on his shoulders. Another triple. He led all scorers with 21 points, but it would not be enough. This was a play that broke the back. It was a broken play. Tyler Reagan gets the ball and one. And the O'Neill Eagles go on to win
20 years since we've been here, and it's the first time for me ever as a player, coach, head coach. So it's a great feeling, and knowing that we played Pierce, this is the 4th time, and even the series out is a pretty good feeling, knowing how good a team they are. And just, advancing. These boys have earned it, and just the pride I have for those guys and the joy I have coaching them just kind of come out of me at the end there.
Yeah, we turned the ball over early. We had a little bit of a deer in the headlight looks early on, and then didn't shoot the ball well in the first half. Even when we got looks inside, we didn't finish them. So we had a couple of easy chances there to get buckets to maybe stay with it a little bit closer. Defensively, I thought we played okay.
So the Eagles advance to the semifinals where they have a tough test. Bishop Newman, that contest will be at Pinnacle Bank at 9 a.m. Friday. So the Eagles happy, though, their first trip back since 1996 to state. And I got to give an apology to Coach Seth Kaloff. Corey Fisher's the principal. Great guy, I'm sure.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Got to give the coach the proper credit. That was my mistake on the lower third there. So.
And Seth Kaloff's a big man. He will track you down. I think he goes 6'6", something like that. He's a tall coach. Which is what you want on a basketball court, I suppose. Very tall, but and actually that's fitting because O'Neill's length is really what disrupted Pierce in this game. They just couldn't get anything over the top of those O'Neill outstretched arms, and if you're not hitting your outside shots against O'Neill, you're in trouble because Pierce just doesn't have the size to hang with O'Neill inside. And honestly, when you've played a team 4 times, you got to kind of throw caution to the wind a little bit, play outside of yourself. I had a chance to listen to the coverage on NCN 94.7 earlier today. Sounded like O'Neill played a little bit looser, and when you've seen a team as many times as they have, the looser team is usually the one that prevails.
And that's a great point. Something I noticed, too, just the length and the height was something Pierce couldn't overcome. And they played great defense, too. And the Blue Jays, you saw they couldn't buy a bucket in that first half. And it just was too much for Coach Emery's team to come back from. But O'Neill, Bishop Newman on the horizon. And I don't envy the Eagles.
No. Bishop Newman, they got running clock on Louisville today. That team is really, really good. They are the prohibitive favorite in C1. We'll see what the Eagles can conjure up tomorrow. Let's take a look at the brackets. We've been talking about them. Let's take a look at what Class C1 looks like as we head into tomorrow. You've got, there you see the scores right there. Bishop Newman beat Louisville 63-23. So they improved the 24. How did they lose 2 games this year? That boggles my mind. O'Neill beat Pierce by 14. You see Adams Central, the 10-point win over North Bend Central, and Columbus Scotus outlasting Gothenburg 58-39. We'll have highlights of both of those games tomorrow night right here on NCN. So from C1, we move now to C2. And again, this is another chance, Brandon, to see, you were at the Devaney. I got a chance to go out to Lincoln Northeast, but the atmosphere of these smaller schools, these small towns that just empty out when their teams make it to state, you can't beat it.
They say they bring the bus sometimes. Literally, they take school buses of people
yes.
down to, was it you who tweeted the whole Walt Hill thing? I know we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. But
yes.
The whole town of Walt Hill
Hill
came. So, we'll get there as well. But you're just talking specifically C2 and the Battle Creek Braves as similar to what O'Neill has in Bishop Neumann on the horizon.
Yeah.
They had Hastings St. Cecilia in the first round, and that's no easy task either. We've seen St. Cecilia take SCOTUS to the ropes and Class C1 opponents.
Yeah, Battle Creek had a tough task. Remember, last year they made it to the Class C2 semifinals and beat and lost to Hastings St. Cecilia. Ended up finishing third place, beat Archbishop Bergen in the third place game last year. So they get the Blue Hawks again to start it off. And St. Cecilia, the team that everybody says could probably take Winnebago if they make it to the finals. But Battle Creek, they had to get past the Braves first. Let's check out the highlights, see how this game went down at Lincoln Northeast High School. Earlier today, it was the Braves and the Blue Hawks doing battle. There you see the warm-ups there. Battle Creek getting intro. There's Kobe Lade, the senior. And this was a block party early on. Hastings St. Cecilia really bothered Battle Creek down low. There you see the swat there. Here's another one on the Rudloff drive attempt. St. Cecilia had 6 blocks in the first half on Battle Creek shots, and if they didn't block it, they were altered. Battle Creek really struggled. Meanwhile, offensively, St. Cecilia with some hustle. That's Dalton Sealy coming right at you and then getting rewarded by drilling the 3. He finished with 5 points, St. Cecilia up. The Battle Creek, some defense of their own. Look at Jared Reed with a swat, swallowing that one up. Then on the offensive side, a nice scramble here down low. Josh Schick able to get it off glass and good. And Battle Creek only down 6 at the half. Brave fans thinking maybe an upset in the books, especially with Schick pulling off moves like this. Beautiful one-on-one left-handed flip-up, but just too much from St. Cecilia. They got their best player going in the second half. That's Brooks Asher. He had 16 points in this one, the great baseline drive. Now this one past 3 defenders, and St. Cecilia will roll in this one late. They end up winning it 48-36.
Defense rebounding be key this game. You saw first half we gave a lot of offensive rebounds to him. We cleaned that up second half. But at the end of the day, you saw him put the ball through the hoop, and we failed to do that in the second half.
Coach put together a great game plan. He always does, and shots weren't falling tonight, and their length kind of bothered us. That kid probably had like 20 blocks. I don't know what it was, but yeah, they played well, and I wish them the best luck the rest of the way.
It wasn't 20 blocks, but it was a lot. And there you saw Kobe Lade, the senior. He had 11 points for Battle Creek. His final game in a brilliant career. He was the X factor for Battle Creek in their run to state a year ago. Stepped up the senior leader this year. A lot of folks didn't expect Battle Creek to be back here. They lost a lot of starters from that team. Credit Trevor Anderson. He is a great young up-and-coming coach. He's been the coach of the Braves for 3 years, and all 3 years they made it to state. But again, what we have seen early and often, Brandon, is Hastings St. Cecilia. Their length and their pressure defense, it really bothers teams, and they just had too much for Battle Creek today.
And looking like they're obviously deserving all the press publicity they're going to get. I really don't know if it's going to be anything other than Hastings St. Cecilia and Winnebago. That's what everyone's saying. It's the
right.
Safe bet, but playing fortune teller a little bit. Going to be a great game to see whoever makes it there, but Blue Hawks, I don't see how you beat them.
Well, there was one team today that I saw in the game after that if they play like they did today, they could beat anybody, regardless of class. By the way, this Class A game behind us, 11 seconds to go. Fremont up 54-47. So it looks like the Tigers will eliminate the Norfolk Panthers. Panthers season will come to an end. Congrats to them on a great season. But back to C2. St. Cecilia does a nice job stopping offenses. Well, the winner of the 3-6 matchup will be a tough offense to stop as Ainsworth took on Amherst. If you set an over-under on this game, you'd probably set it at about 140. Both these teams average almost 70 points a game. They get up and down the court, very good on the drive and dish. So you had a feeling that this one was going to be high scoring. And it was. Let's take a look at the highlights here as Amherst takes on Ainsworth in Class C2. Capacity crowd, they locked the doors at Lincoln Northeast. Couldn't get in. And if you couldn't get in, you missed great plays like that one. That's Holden Eckhout. He had 25 for Amherst in this one. But Ainsworth answers. Down low off the miss, Ben Allen up and good. One of 7 players in this game that finished in double figures. Here's good defense, though. You wouldn't think in a game this high be much, but there was a lot Leads to a transition bucket by Trey Taubenheim. He had 11 points, all of them big, and this game just going back and forth. Great ball movement here. How about the big man, 6'7", Luke McLeod, drilling the triple. And then more defense here. A lot of contact. They let this one go. That made it entertaining. And in transition, Trevor Adelung finishes from the left side. But Ainsworth comes right back. The triple from Jaden Philbin is good. And at the break, it's Ainsworth leading unbeaten Amherst 42-38. Second half now, more back and forth, more from Ainsworth. Taubenheim had 11. It felt like every bucket he hit was a huge one. But Ainsworth answers. Dusty Warden, or rather Brady Delamont, I should say, hitting that three. But again, Taubenheim splitting the defense. All right, so it's 81-78, 12 seconds to go. Free throws missed. Ainsworth's got it with a shot to tie. Into the front court, a great look from the left side, but too strong. And Amherst survives, improves to 27-0, getting the win over Ainsworth, 81-78. What a game.
That thing, if they don't have any clock on it, that could go on for days, just because it's like you got two here, you got two there. I mean, it was a great atmosphere. The fans loved it, and they definitely got their money's worth tonight. But, basically what we told them in there was, come back out of there. Be proud to wear your Ainsworth shirt, because I tell you what, this is one of the best games so far in the tournament, and you just can't ask for anything better with the effort,
So Amherst improves to 27-0 and trying to do something very rare in winter sports, and that is, especially for a smaller school, and that's win both of the major state championships. Amherst, of course, a dominant wrestling program. They've won like the last 80 state championships in a row or something like that. They were the Class D champs in wrestling this year as a team, won the dual championships as well. Now trying to get it in basketball, that's really rare for a school that small to be that dominant in two different sports, but Amherst very, very good at basketball.
And you mentioned this scoreline, not even a rarity for Amherst. The 11th time they've cracked 80. They cracked 93 times this season, so I mean, you saw St. Cecilia today. You know now what Amherst does. How do you feel those teams match up as they'll meet in the semis?
It's literally the irresistible force, immovable object, because St. Cecilia stops you dead in your tracks. That's what they like to do. But here's the thing. The way Amherst runs their offense, and you saw it in that highlight package there, off a made bucket, they're looking down court immediately. They don't want to let St. Cecilia set up their press. It's a very, very interesting matchup. St. Cecilia will always have an advantage, though, because of their height, their length. And Amherst doesn't have a ton of height, so they're going to need that speed, and they're going to have to hit from outside. They're going to need to be making their threes if they're going to beat Hastings St. Cecilia. It's going to be very, very difficult. So it's going to be an interesting matchup tomorrow. Something very interesting was just announced over the loudspeakers. Congratulations to the Nebraska Cornhuskers. They beat Wisconsin today in the Big Ten tournament. How about that? 70-58 the final. The final in this one, Fremont eliminates Norfolk 55-47. We'll have more on that game coming up as well. But you mentioned St. Cecilia versus Amherst. Let's take a look at the Class C2 brackets. Winnebago playing right now, probably just wrapping up their game against Westholt. They were trailing Westholt at the half, actually. David Winget took over, had 20 points in the third quarter. Indians had taken the lead. You see Southern Valley dominated Elmwood Murdoch. 61-40, they moved on. And do we have a final in that Winnebago game yet?
We do. Winnebago 64, Westholt 43. So no one's counting, but that is the 50th straight win for Winnebago dating back to last season.
And in case you're wondering, that's plus 26 in the second half. They were down 5 at the half, and they won by 21. So that is a remarkable run Winnebago's on, and they move on to the semifinals tomorrow. Well, we'll move on down to Class D. We've got a lot more basketball to talk about, Brandon. We're going to have some guests, have folks talk about some of the action you've seen today, and a lot more coming up. You're watching live from Boise State on News Channel Nebraska.